Namaste and welcome to Daily News Simplified, the what, why and how of newspaper reading. Today we would be analyzing the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper of 2nd July 2018. Now let us begin. Now we have taken this article from page 11. Now what this article talks about is artificial intelligence and more specifically the recent report of NITI Aayog on artificial intelligence. So what we'll do with regards to this article is first understand the related terms to artificial intelligence, such as machine learning and deep learning. After that, we'll try to understand what are the priority areas for artificial intelligence in India. After this, we'll try to understand what are the barriers to adoption of artificial intelligence in India. The fourth aspect that we'll understand is what is the outreach program by the Government of India as recommended by the NITI Aayog report. The fifth aspect that we'll try to understand is on how artificial intelligence would be used in the field of agriculture. Now the last aspect that we'll try to understand is the privacy issues related to artificial intelligence. Now before moving forward, what you should also understand as to where each of these aspects would be placed in your UPSC syllabus. Wherein this article and the upcoming explanation would be placed in GS paper 3 within 3 different sections of your syllabus. First is technology, economic development and security, wherein the terms related to artificial intelligence such as machine learning and deep learning, the priority areas for artificial intelligence in India, and the barriers and outreach for artificial intelligence adoption in India would be placed in the subsection Science and Technology, and more specifically indigenization of technology and developing new technology, and also within the subsection Awareness in the field of IT and computers, while the aspect Artificial Intelligence for Agriculture would be placed in the section Economic Development, and more specifically in the subsection Technology in the Aid of Farmers, while privacy issues would be placed in the section Security and more specifically Basics of Cybersecurity. Now what we'll do is try to understand all of these aspects with the help of the NITI Aayog report itself. So now let us begin by understanding the terms related to artificial intelligence. Now NITI Aayog in June of 2018 released a discussion paper called the National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence. And this report defined artificial intelligence as the ability of machines to perform cognitive tasks. Now, cognitive tasks are like thinking, perceiving, learning, problem solving, and decision making. Wherein, in simple terms, artificial intelligence is a form of technology that could mimic human intelligence. Wherein this report has further defined artificial intelligence as a constellation of technologies, meaning a group of technologies that enable machines to act with higher levels of intelligence, whereby they can mimic the human capabilities of sense, comprehension, and of performing an action. Wherein this report has categorized artificial intelligence, first being weak artificial intelligence versus strong artificial intelligence, wherein weak artificial intelligence is a form of simulated thinking, which means that a machine or a system appears to be behaving intelligently but does not have any form of understanding about what type of work the machine is doing. While this report defines strong artificial intelligence as actual thinking, wherein under strong artificial intelligence, a machine understands of what it is, what action that machine is performing, and why that action is being performed by that machine, wherein that machine is able to think as a human does. Now the second categorization given in this report of artificial intelligence is of narrow artificial intelligence versus general artificial intelligence, wherein narrow artificial intelligence describes artificial intelligence that is limited to a single task or a number of repetitive tasks, such as a chess playing computer or any form of machine enabled game playing. Describes a computer which would be able to complete a wide range of tasks with different set of parameters. And the third categorization given of artificial intelligence in this report is of superintelligence, wherein superintelligence is a prospective form of artificial intelligence which might happen in the future, and it generally refers to a strong artificial intelligence which would surpass human intelligence. Now hopefully up till here you understood the basic definition of artificial intelligence and the categories of artificial intelligence. Now let us understand as to what is meant by machine learning and deep learning. Now machine learning means the ability to learn wherein the machine has not been actually programmed to learn in that manner, wherein the machine is able to get trained with the use of algorithms, and by performing various tasks and learning new data, the machine would be able to learn itself from performing that task and from that data. And deep learning is a technique which is used for implementing machine learning, wherein deep learning uses artificial neural networks, which are based on algorithms and mimic the biological structure of the human brain, wherein the brain is made up of various neurons, which are connected to each other, wherein artificial neural networks would have different layers, and each layer would learn something specific, and whatever that layer has learned would then be shared with other layers, wherein each layer would be a form of machine learning, and the sharing of this information between different layers and their interconnectedness would be a form of deep learning. Wherein this NITI Aayog report further defines machine learning as a form of algorithm which detect patterns and thereby learning on how to make predictions and recommendations by processing data and experiences. So rather than having a computer programmer giving specific instructions to that machine, wherein under machine learning, the machine would process data and experiences and based on algorithms that have already been fed into that machine would detect patterns and thereafter learn how to make predictions and recommendations based on that patterns. While this report further defines deep learning as a form of machine learning which we have just understood, wherein different interconnected layers, wherein each layer would be based on a form of machine learning itself, would take in vast amounts of input data and process each information through multiple layers, wherein each layer would be based on machine learning and each layer would also be connected to other layers. And after this, the interconnected layers which act as a neural network can make recommendations determination about the data. And this continuous process of using data and thereby making a determination or a recommendation would allow the interconnected layers or the neural networks to continuously learn. Now hopefully up till here you have also understood as to what is machine learning and what is deep learning. And thereby you've gotten a basic understanding of the terms related to artificial intelligence. Now let us understand the priority areas for artificial intelligence in India. Now the NITI Aayog has decided to focus on 5 sectors so as to utilize artificial intelligence in solving the problems of society. When the first priority sector is healthcare, wherein NITI Aayog intends to use artificial intelligence to increase the access and affordability of quality healthcare. The second priority sector is agriculture, wherein artificial intelligence is intended to enhance the farmer's income, increase farmer productivity, and the reduction of agricultural wastage. The third priority sector would be education, wherein artificial intelligence is intended to improve access and quality of education. The fourth priority sector would be smart cities and infrastructure, wherein through artificial intelligence, NITI Aayog intends to improve efficient and connectivity in urban cities. And the fifth and the last priority sector, as envisioned by NITI Aayog, is of smart mobility and transportation, wherein through artificial intelligence, NITI Aayog intends for smarter and safer modes of transportation, and moreover, the use of artificial intelligence to solve traffic and congestion problems. Now, the NITI Aayog has also given 3 components which would form the framework for the priority areas for the use of artificial intelligence in India, wherein the first component would be of opportunity, wherein opportunity refers to the economic impact of the usage of artificial intelligence in India. The second component would be the use of artificial intelligence for greater good, and the greater good would be for societal development and of inclusive growth. And the third component would be an artificial intelligence garage for 40% of the world, where India would become the solution provider for artificial intelligence to the developing world. Now, this NITI Aayog report has also given the major market segments that can have an increased adoption of artificial intelligence, wherein the first major market segment would be of private enterprises, wherein the adoption of artificial intelligence by private enterprises, according to the NITI Aayog report, would be mostly driven by the market choices and whether the enterprise requires artificial intelligence or not. The second major segment that can adopt artificial intelligence are public sector undertaking or PSUs, wherein the use of artificial intelligence can improve the operational efficiencies of public sector units. And the third and the final major market segment would be the government, wherein the increased use of artificial intelligence in government would improve the process efficiency, reduce human discretion, eliminate the middleman, and have an active and predictive service delivery to citizens of India. Now, hopefully, up till here, you understood the priority areas for artificial intelligence adoption in India. And moreover, you also understand the components that are required for artificial intelligence adoption in India and the various market segments that can improve the adoption of artificial intelligence. Now let us understand the barriers towards the adoption of artificial intelligence in India. Now the NITI Aayog report has identified various barriers that are needed to be addressed to achieve the goals of deploying artificial intelligence in India. Now the first barrier identified by the report is that there is a lack of expertise in research and application of artificial intelligence in India. The second barrier highlighted by the report is that there is an absence of an enabling data ecosystem, wherein currently the companies or the research institutions that are working on artificial intelligence do not have access to intelligent data. Wherein, let's say, a research institution or a company is using artificial intelligence to understand water availability to farmers, would not have the data on the rainfall in a particular area, the irrigation facilities in a particular area, or other forms of intelligent data that that research institution or that company would require to have an effective prediction and an analysis method for that artificial intelligence. Now, the third barrier given by the NITI Aayog report is that there is high cost and low awareness for the adoption of artificial intelligence in India. The fourth barrier given by the report is the issues relating to privacy and security, which includes a lack of formal regulations with regards to the usage of online data for artificial intelligence. Now, the fifth and the final barrier given by the report is that there is an absence of a collaborative approach, let's say between the Government of India and private institutions, or between academic institutions or private companies, which has led to a slow adoption and application of artificial intelligence in India. Now, the report further continues in addressing the various challenges in adopting artificial intelligence in India. Wherein the various challenges highlighted by the report is first the lack of enabling data ecosystems. The second challenge is the low intensity of research in artificial intelligence, such as in fundamental technologies, and transforming this research into market applications. The third challenge is the inadequate availability of people who are experts in artificial intelligence and the skilling opportunities in artificial intelligence. The fourth challenge is again the high cost and the low awareness in the adoption of artificial intelligence in private enterprises. The fifth challenge is of the unclear privacy and security regulations in India with regards to usage of online data for artificial intelligence. And the sixth challenge highlighted by the report is that India has an attractive intellectual property regime or regulations, wherein the current intellectual property rights regulations in India do not incentivize research and the adoption of artificial intelligence. Now, the report further highlights on why the adoption of artificial intelligence continues to face various challenges. When the first repeated challenge is the lack of adequate talent to build and deploy artificial intelligence systems in India, wherein there is a very large gap of professionals who are enabled in artificial intelligence in India. The second challenge highlighted by the report is that various data rich companies such as Facebook or Google have formed a hegemony or dominance over the research and application of artificial intelligence. And this has created a huge entry barrier for Indian startups to work in the artificial intelligence field. The fourth repeated point is obviously of high cost, such as of computing infrastructure such as cloud network, in the deployment of artificial intelligence based services in India. The fourth and the final challenge highlighted by the report is again the challenge of low awareness of artificial intelligence and its usages in public and private enterprises. Now, hopefully, you have understood the various barriers to the adoption of artificial intelligence in India. Now, let us understand the various recommendations given in this report on how we can improve the adoption of artificial intelligence in India. Now, the NITI Aayog report has highlighted various key enablers that would allow outreach for artificial intelligence in India. Now, the first key enabler highlighted by the report is access to vast quantities of data. When according to the report, the access to vast quantities of data is vital for artificial intelligence to be effective. The second key enabler would be of the convergence of data, wherein currently the available data is unstructured and not readily usable, and therefore is hard to combine. And therefore, what is needed is an ability to converge this data and make sense of data that have been gathered from various sources, such as social network sites. The third key enabler given in the NITI Aayog report to ensure outreach of artificial intelligence in India is data annotation. Now, annotating data means that the data has been tagged, thereby allowing it to be used for machine learning or artificial intelligence. And according to the report, this data needs to be annotated either manually or in some semi-automated way. And it is after this tagging or annotating the data that it can be used for machine learning. Now this report further highlights on how issues can be overcome with regards to data access in India that can be used for artificial intelligence. Wherein the first recommendation given in the report is that the government of India should allow data sharing, wherein the government can launch a mission of making all of these data that it collects and making sure that this data is then available for public good, such as data on climate, remote sensing data that is not of strategic use, soil health data, among other forms of data that the government of India collects. The second recommendation given in this report is data sharing by corporates in India, wherein corporates can share their transportation patterns, transit patterns, and other forms of data that can be used for social good. The third recommendation of this report is that by having an informed consent, wherein taking the permission of that person for having access to personal data, such as financial data, healthcare data, and these data then can be used for the purpose of artificial intelligence and data analytics. The fourth and the final key recommendation given in this report to ensure an outreach of artificial intelligence in India is through the use of crowdsourced collection of data, wherein the government of India can use online social networks and incentivize individuals to share details of their consumption pattern, such as the type of food they eat, the amount of money they spend on a particular item, and this data then can be used for big data analysis and be applied for artificial intelligence. Now, hopefully, up till here, you've understood the recommendations given in this report for outreach for artificial intelligence. Now, let us understand on how artificial intelligence can be used in the field of agriculture for the aid of farmers. Now, according to the NITI Aayog report, the use of artificial intelligence has the potential to impact productivity and efficiency in the field of agriculture and has the ability of improving the agriculture value chain. Wherein the first potential impact highlighted in this report on the use of artificial intelligence in the field of agriculture would be in the field of soil health monitoring and restoration. Wherein with the use of image recognition, so let's say a farmer takes a picture of his farmland or of his soil, and the deep learning models under artificial intelligence would give a detailed information of the health of the soil, and therefore the farmer would not require to take his soil for physical testing at a laboratory. Moreover, artificial intelligence can also use the data signals from remote satellites and give a report on the soil health for a particular area or a particular region, and thereby making it possible for farmers in that area to take immediate actions if required to restore soil health. The second impact in the use of artificial intelligence for the use of farmers would be in the field of crop health monitoring and providing real-time advices to farmers, wherein artificial intelligence can be used to predict advices to farmers for sowing, pest control, and other form of crop health monitoring, thereby providing stability in information for the agricultural community, wherein data on vegetation health, soil moisture, among other aspects can be collected through remote sensing satellites. And this data then can be used by artificial intelligence to provide additional insights to the farmers. The third impact highlighted in this report is that artificial intelligence would allow the increase in efficiency of farm mechanization, wherein artificial intelligence can provide information on weed removal, early disease identification, produce harvesting, grading of agricultural products, and therefore, according to this report, artificial intelligence can bring a revolutionary change in the utilization and efficiency of farm machinery. Now, the fourth and the last impact highlighted in this report on how artificial intelligence can be used in the field of agriculture to aid farmers is that artificial intelligence can increase the share of price realization to farmers, wherein artificial intelligence can use predictive analysis to bring more accurate supply and demand data to farmers, and thereby cutting down the impact of middlemen which provide incorrect information to farmers on prices of agricultural goods. Wherein this report highlights that data from the ENAM, agriculture census data, data from egg market can be used to form predictive modeling on agricultural prices. Now, hopefully, up till here, you've understood the 4 points given in this report on how artificial intelligence can be used for the aid of farmers. Now, let us understand the implications of artificial intelligence on security. Now, the NITI Aayog report has highlighted various aspects with regards to artificial intelligence and privacy issues. Wherein the first recommendation given in the report with dealing with privacy issues with regards to artificial intelligence is to establish a data protection framework. When according to the report, the Justice Sri Krishna Committee on Data Protection Law has already given 7 core principles of data protection and privacy. And according to this NITI Aayog report, these 7 core principles are comprehensive in nature and can provide a strong privacy protection regime in India. And the data protection law, as given by the Justice Sri Krishna Committee, should be enacted in India. The second aspect given in the report to deal with privacy issues is to establish a sectoral regulatory frameworks. When according to the report, there should be one central privacy protection law, such as the data protection law given by the Justice Sri Krishna Committee. And according to the report, there should also be sectoral regulatory frameworks, which deal with specific artificial intelligence related issues such as self-driving cars, next generation robots, among other specific artificial intelligence issues that require their own frameworks. The third aspect highlighted in the report is to benchmark national data protection law and privacy laws with international standards, wherein according to the report, the General Data Protection Regulation of the European Union, which was enforced in May of 2018, can be used as a benchmark for India's own national data protection law. The fourth point highlighted in the report is to encourage artificial intelligence developers to follow international standards. And according to this report, Indian enterprises and developers need to follow these international standards while following artificial intelligence in India. The fifth point given by the report is to encourage self-regulation, wherein developers in artificial intelligence and companies that are working in artificial intelligence can follow globally used data privacy impact assessment tools for self-regulation. The sixth point given in the report is to invest and collaborate in artificial research that preserves privacy, wherein new models on artificial intelligence can be used to minimize the risk of data exploitation and ensure protection of privacy despite an individual or a company sharing information on a large scale, such as on social media sites. The seventh and the last point given in this NITI Aayog report on how to handle issues of privacy with regards to artificial intelligence is to spread awareness. Now, as you might know, right to privacy has been termed as a fundamental right by the Supreme Court of India, and the Government of India needs to ensure that the citizens are aware of their right to privacy and on how also citizens can protect their privacy, wherein the idea of informed consent should be taught to the general public so that they are aware on how their data is being used. Now, hopefully, you have also understood the issues related to privacy and artificial intelligence within the backdrop of cybersecurity. Now, apart from this, I've also covered in the June edition of the Focus magazine on the usage of artificial intelligence in national security and defense, wherein what has recently happened is that the Ministry of Defense conducted a workshop on artificial intelligence, and the Ministry of Defense has also established an artificial intelligence task force. But however, we will not be covering this article in today's explanation, and you could further refer to the June edition of the Focus magazine to further understand about this. Now, hopefully, you have understood the 6 aspects that are required to be understood with regards to artificial intelligence for your GS paper 3, wherein there are 2 questions for your practice, wherein under the first question, you need to highlight the various challenges in the adoption of artificial intelligence in India and suggest measures to overcome those challenges, wherein this question would be more specific to the technology section in GS paper 3, while the second question asks to assess the applicability of artificial intelligence in the aid of farmers in India, and the second question would be in the purview of economic development in GS paper 3. And apart from this, I've also provided the link to the report of the NITI Aayog on artificial intelligence in the description section, and you can refer to that report and more specifically to the pages that I have used in this explanation to answer both of these questions, wherein the self-reading of this document would also provide you an in-depth understanding of artificial intelligence and its related issues. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken the lead editorial from page 10. Now what we'll do with regards to this editorial is understand the crux with regards to the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. But however, we will not go into the political aspects that have been highlighted in this article on the Bhima Koregaon issue. So now let us understand about the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Now the article focuses on the powers of the Government of India for arrest and detention under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which has been sanctioned through Article 22 of the Constitution of India. Now under Article 22 of the Constitution of India, every person who is arrested shall be informed about the reason of their arrest. The person who has been arrested shall not be denied the right to consult or be defended by a legal practitioner. Moreover, any person who has been arrested shall be produced before a judicial magistrate within 24 hours of their arrest. However, there are various exceptions to Article 22, wherein Article 22 does not apply to a person who for the time being is an enemy alien, wherein that person is not a citizen of India or has been classified as an enemy alien. The second exception to Article 22 is that any person who is arrested or detained under any law providing for preventive detention, and therefore to give effect to a law providing for preventive detention, the Government of India constituted the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act of 1967. Now what this act provides is that for more effective prevention of certain unlawful activities of individuals or associations for dealing with terrorist activities. Now this act includes whole of India, including the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now the author has argued that the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act has provided vast discretionary powers to state agencies, wherein says this act is an exception to Article 22. A person can be detained for more than 24 hours under this law, and moreover, this person does not need to be produced before a judicial magistrate after the lapse of 24 hours, and according to the author, this provision impacts basic human rights. Wherein the author has highlighted two problems with the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Wherein the first problem is with the definitions that have been provided under this act. Wherein according to the author, the certain definitions that have been provided under this act are very vague, and this gives the state agencies a huge discretionary power to prosecute people. Wherein under this law, membership of unlawful and terrorist organization is a criminal offense. And according to the author, the act fails to entirely define what membership means, and therefore people have been arrested for posing with any literature like books, magazine, and other forms of things that are associated with banned organizations. The second problem highlighted by the author is with regards to Section 43D, Clause 5 of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, wherein under this section it prohibits court from granting bail to the accused, and therefore if the police has accused someone under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, it becomes extremely difficult for that person to get bail. Now hopefully up till here you've also understood the various problems highlighted by the author with regards to the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. And the author has recommended that the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act should be used in exceptional cases. Now hopefully you've understood the focus of this article and the problems highlighted by the author with regards to the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken both of these articles from page 15. Now before understanding as to what both of these articles talk about, let us understand as to what is FDI and what is FPI and what is the difference between both of them. And then we'll understand as to what has been the focus of both of these articles. Now the Union Budget of 2013 and 14 had announced that when an investor has a stake of 10% or less in a company, it will be treated as FII or Foreign Institutional Investor, which is now known as FPI or Foreign Portfolio Investor. And when an investor has a stake of 10% or more, it will be treated as FDI or Foreign Direct Investment. Now there are 5 main differences between Foreign Direct Investment and Foreign Portfolio Investment, wherein FDI is a long-term investment and FPI is generally a short-term investment. Wherein Foreign Direct Investment invests in physical assets, while Foreign Portfolio Investment are generally in financial assets such as shares, mutual funds, among other financial assets. Now the aim of foreign direct investment is to increase the capacity of a company or the change in management, while the aim of the foreign portfolio investor is to increase its capital availability. Now FDI generally leads to technology transfer, access to markets, and management inputs, while foreign portfolio investment generally only results in capital inflows and does not include associated benefits such as technology transfer, access to market, management inputs, among other. And lastly, FDI flow generally to the primary market, while foreign portfolio investment generally flow into the secondary market. Now hopefully up till here you understood the difference between FDI and FPI. Now let us understand as to why the first article is in the news. Now what has happened is that the foreign direct investment growth in India has hit a 5-year low, wherein according to the latest data by the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, the growth rate in FDI inflows have registered a 5-year low in India. And moreover, a report by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development has recently in its report stated that FDI in India has decreased to $40 billion, in 2017 from $44 billion in 2016, wherein the outflow of FDIs from India to South Asian countries has more than doubled to $11 billion. Now, hopefully, you have understood the focus of the first news. Now, let us understand the focus of the second article. Now, what the second article talks about is that the foreign portfolio investment outflows from India has hit a 10-year high at 48,000 crore. Now, it means that overseas investors in India have taken out nearly 48,000 crore from the Indian capital markets. And this outflow of 48,000 crore has only happened in the first 6 months of 2018. And according to the article, this is the biggest outflow of foreign portfolio investment from India since the year of 2008. Now, the main reason given in the article for the outflow of foreign portfolio investment is first the high crude oil prices, and second, because of the trade war between China and the United States. Now, apart from this, there is also a third reason wherein the US Federal Reserve is providing high interest rate in the US market. And because foreign investors are able to get a better return in the US market, they are taking out money from the Indian capital markets. Now, hopefully, up to you have understood the differences between foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. And moreover, you also understand as to why both of these articles are in the news. Now, you have to understand that the news given in both of these articles are in transition, when the data given in both of these articles are for a limited time period, and this data would change within a given time. So, you'll have to look at both of these articles from a point of view of basic understanding. And so, now with this, we move on to the next article. Now, we have taken this article from page 10. Now, what this article talks about is the recent visit of the president of Seychelles and the recent issues with regard to the Assumption Island. Now, what has happened that the agreement on the Assumption Island between India and Seychelles has been put on hold, or rather in suspended animation. Now, this recent visit of the president of Seychelles and the issues with regards to the Assumption Island agreement has already been covered in the DNS of 23rd June, and you can refer to this video to understand about the visit and issues with regard to Assumption Island. And therefore, we move on to the next article. Now, we have taken this article from page 13. Now, what this article talks about is that Agni V missile is soon going to be a part of India's nuclear arsenal. Now, what we'll do with regards to this article is understand the basic features of the Agni V missile. Now, as some of you may know, a question was asked in your 2014 prelims examination with regards to the feature of the Agni 4 missile. So let us understand the features of the Agni 5 missile that can be asked in your prelims or in your mains examination. Now let us understand the first feature. Now the first feature of the Agni 5 missile that it is a surface to surface intercontinental ballistic missile. Now let us understand as to what is a ballistic missile. Now a ballistic missile is a missile with an arcing trajectory. Now what do we mean by arcing trajectory? Now suppose the missile is located here and the target is located here. Now a ballistic missile would follow this kind of trajectory, and this is known as the arcing trajectory. Now moreover, you can also understand how the trajectory of the ballistic missile is different from a cruise missile. Now assume that this is the terrain between the missile and its target. So a cruise missile would follow this kind of trajectory, wherein it is closer to the surface, while the ballistic missile would reach the outermost area of the atmosphere and then fall with the help of gravity on its target. So a ballistic missile is initially powered and guided and then falls with the aid of gravity on its target. So hopefully up till here you've understood the first feature of the Agni 5 missile. You've also understood as to what is a ballistic missile, what is the arcing trajectory, how is the trajectory of the ballistic missile different from that of a cruise missile. So now let us understand the second feature of the Agni 5 missile. Now the second feature of the Agni 5 missile is that it can be used as a canister on a road mobile launcher. Now let us understand as to what does this mean. Now the recent test of the Agni 5 missile was based on deliverable configuration. Now the recent test of the Agni 5 missile was based on a sealed canister, as you can see in this image, and can be used through a road mobile launcher and can be quickly assembled during an emergency, thereby making it a deliverable configuration. So hopefully up till here you have understood as to what is the deliverable configuration, and you also have a pictorial understanding as to what is meant by the canister on a road mobile launcher. Now let us understand its third feature. While the first one is the inertial navigation system and the second is the micro navigation system. Now this inertial navigation system is based on the highly accurate ring-based gyroscope. And both of these systems together allows the Agni 5 missile to reach its target point within a few meters of accuracy. Now let us understand its next feature. Now the Agni 5 is based on a three-stage propulsion system. Now propulsion system is that system which provides the thrust for the missile to take off. Now the payload of the Agni 5 missile is roughly of 1 ton. And 1 ton is equal to 1000 kg. Now the Agni 5 missile uses a three-stage engine which is based on solid fuel. And the range of the Agni 5 missile is more than 5000 kilometers. Now if you look at this image with the red dotted line, it shows the range of the Agni 5 missile. Now the Agni 5 missile covers the whole area of China. Now hopefully up till here you've understood how many stages of the propulsion system does Agni 5 have, what is its payload, how many stages does its engine have, what fuel does it use, and what is the range of the Agni 5 missile. So if a question is asked in your prelims examination with regard to the Agni 5 missile, you would be able to answer. Now hopefully you have understood the basic features of the Agni 5 missile. Now while discussing a recent question of prelims of 2018 on PSLV and GSLV, now one of the things that we had highlighted is that when trying to analyze and understand the various satellite launch vehicles of India, the various satellites of India, the various missile systems of India, try to understand it in a comparative format. So now that you've understood the basic features of the Agni 5 missile, try to analyze the basic features of the Agni 3 or the Agni 4 missile and try to understand these missile systems of India in a comparative format. And this would help you when comparison-based questions are asked in the prelims examination of 2019. And now with this, we come to an end in the analysis of today's newspaper. Now we move on to the question for today.